Invincible finale this week.
Yes.
Oh my good gravy. What an episode.
I watched this before going away, and I think I immediately put in our chat of like absolute cinema. What a finale. And you were just immediately like, I have not seen this, stop. But holy shit. Like, I knew, and I think we both knew going into this last episode, we were fully expecting a big fight. We knew Conquest had arrived. We knew Mark had a lot of pent up rage from fighting himself multiple times. I don't think I was quite ready for how intense this fight was going to be. I was like mouth open, edge of my seat the whole fucking way through. Yeah.
This episode was, first and foremost, I never want to hear anyone talk about the quality of animation in this show ever again. I would just always point them back to this episode. This is some of the best animation I think you could ask for. There's only so much budget, and they made sure they used it wisely, I feel.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, I always knew in the back of my head, I was like, yeah, some of these other episodes might have had like weird bits of animation. I was like, they're going to go ham on the final episode. With a
That
big
they
fight,
did.
like, they were going to go ham. There were so many moments. I was going to say, I mean, this is going to be jumping around a lot. When Eve, two things with Eve. The changing the density of the air to stop him was such a fucking big brain move. But then
Eve is
also
my
I'm
goat.
like, do this fucking more. Like, clearly you are so much stronger, but I know it's like a lot of it is stamina thing. I'm like, but she needs to get on the same training regime and like we need to
get that 138% stronger, yeah?
Like, come on, we need to get her stronger because she is nuts. The other thing was the stun lock that I was put in when she got destroyed by Conquest. Because I was like, oh, she's gonna get like thrown again and like not like she's gonna get injured. I was not ready for this level of injury. Neither was Mark.
Really difficult to actually watch.
Yeah.
Like Mark over her body and like how like brutalized she was actually kind of rough to watch, bearing in mind it was animated. Like I was like, oh no. Like it felt quite visceral, and that's really impressive.
Yeah, because it was like when she arrived, in my head I was just like, we know she has them blocks where she can't transform human matter. And I was just like, maybe she'll see Mark so fucked up, like she can push past that block and she can like essentially heal him back to full, and he's gonna win this fight.
Heal him back to full. Pop your ult, Eve.
Yeah, pop your ult, getting back to full health. Then when she got destroyed, and obviously Mark's like distraught over her body, I'm just like, I mean, either this, she's gonna somehow heal herself, and then she wasn't. I was like, maybe she just heals. Like maybe her dying thing is like she heals Mark up, so that he can like something, and then she dies. Meanwhile, Conquest is being savage in the background, telling her like, "Oh,
the way Conquest was throughout this was masterful, because he is like two different villain archetypes, right? You've got the villain archetype, which is big and strong and is going to beat you into submission, and then you've got the villain archetype that is more psychological, and they're going to get inside your head. And he was both, and he was flawless as both. He was a physical threat while also getting inside Mark's head. It was so entertaining, and like, even like what should be quite a sad story of no one likes me, everyone fears me, I don't even get to have a name. I'm just like, oh my god, you do feel a little bit sorry for him, but in the same way you feel sorry for a wolf that's going on like a murderous rampage and needs to be put down. You're like, it's doing what it's like been taught to do essentially. It's a wild animal that's hunting for food or for whatever, but you feel bad for it because you have to put it down. I kind of felt like that about Conquest. I'm like, he's just doing what he can to survive, because if he doesn't follow orders, all of the Viltrumites will turn on him.
Well,
But at the same time, he does need to be put down because he's too dangerous. It's like so complex.
It's also like it just added so much depth, because also that monologue, I'm sure you saw that wasn't in the comics, and that was written just for the show.
And it's being praised very highly as well as a change.
But like it adds so much depth to a character that, in the general scheme, like indeed, like he is the big bad evil guy in D&D terms. Like he is the main villain that like has this like some level of charisma to him to like do these evil monologues and is just pure evil. And it is like he was a character that he was doing this because he enjoyed it. He was destroying things, but then over time, like he has developed and got more to him to then realize that like he has slowly pushed himself and isolated himself because he's just too good at what he does. And like he enjoyed it at first, and now it's become his burden. But then yet there's still some level of enjoyment in there, even if he doesn't fully accept it. Like, and then that little monologue where he admits to it and he's like, "You can take that to your grave."
Yeah,
it was
it's so good in like the worst way imaginable and the best way imaginable. And like, I have lots of strong opinions about villains. Villains are like my favorite written characters because a really well written villain makes you question things about yourself. It should make you a little bit scared of your own thoughts occasionally. You want the villain to be so obviously bad, but occasionally they say something that you understand, and that should make you go, "Oh, that's what a good villain does, right?" And Conquest did a little bit of that by like making you feel like, say, like a little bit sorry for him. You're like, "Oh, that's actually a bit sad," and then you remember he is genuinely a terrifying murderous sociopath that is not to be trusted.
Yeah, and like all the way through the fight, just like goading Mark and just being like showing that evil enjoyment of, oh, this is a game to me. Like this is just me having a bit of fun, and I want you to try harder. And then like when I was almost certain Oliver was dead when he was being
I'm surprised Oliver survived. Shout out Mark for actually finding enough to save his brother there.
Yeah, I mean, and the Foley artist doing the sound effects for his body being shot, I was like, oh, this is so detailed that we are going to watch him be ripped in half. Like there was so much there that I was like, oh, you do this level of detail when there's about to be something bad happens. But yeah, I mean, from start to finish, that fight was insane. On just so many levels. I think Mark is an idiot though at the end, because he trusts Cecil to get rid of the body. And it's like, Mark, like, what if you learned nothing about this man? You already have made it very clear this season you don't trust him, but then you trust him to get rid of this body. Like,
the other thing that did you say this last week as well about why don't they turn Mark's other bodies into the monster things?
So we I think we both mentioned. I think you said you think they'll try and do that because we didn't know what some of those bodies got taken away. I
can't remember who said it.
I think you mentioned that they got taken away, and I was like, I hadn't really considered them doing that, but I didn't know. But yeah, you were right.
That's what they're working on.
Sinclair was working on that.
I'm really curious to see what the payoff of that is.
It brings up another question though when we got that scene, because like Sinclair's clearly been having a life and going on dates and out for dinner, and like this is someone who is meant to be apparently locked up and like under watch, but clearly is allowed to have some sort of a life. So it's like, okay, Cecil's being a bit too relaxed, I think, with some of this rehabilitation and use of these people.
It's a techie one. Go on.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I get the need for these invincible, like, robots.
I think the beauty of this show is the fact that a lot of the time you can see where every character is coming from.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I think the only thing that is like completely irredeemable from Cecil is keeping Conquest alive.
Yeah.
And just locking him up. But at the same time, I get in his head, the Viltrumite Empire's coming here. He doesn't know there's only like 50 pure-blooded Viltrumites left. He needs to know everything he can physically find out about this dude, and he thinks he's got the situation under control.
Yeah.
Doesn't make it okay. I think that's still a boneheaded decision, but I understand why he thinks he's got it under control.
I get why Cecil's done what he's done. I'm annoyed at Mark for being so dumb that he's still trusting Cecil to do what he considers the right thing when he should know better by now.
Like,
because Mark's gonna be pissed that he didn't get rid of the body, and it's like, well, you should have made sure you got rid of it then. Like, that's your own fault. Like, you should know. Also, we mentioned last week about the surgeons. I presumed that the way it happened with the surgeons in Angstrom, that, Angstrom's about to get screwed over now because they've had enough. Turns out, no, they've fixed him and they want their own planet.
Yeah, it sounds like they've destroyed their original homeworld, and he's asking them to, and they're forcing him rather to give them a new homeworld. But they have bigger plans.
So I think it's almost certain Angstrom returns again.
Yes, Angstrom is not gone, I think.
No. So I think that might be where these extra invincible bots are going to end up coming in use.
I'm really curious about, after Mark got the best welcome home present I've ever seen, what's going on with Eve's powers?
Oh yeah, because it went all gooey on the floor. I think she's starting to break down that mental block.
Oh, so maybe.
She's not realizing that she's now also altering matter, like,
see, I didn't view it so much as that. I viewed it so much as when, like, her powers kicked in and saved her. I viewed it more as something's not wired up quite right, and now her powers are just unstable.
Oh, possibly.
Because if you think about it,
she went full Phoenix mode.
Yeah, and I think kind of when she removed his clothes and put them in a pile, you've got to remember it's not the same clothes, right? Like, the laws of teleportation is, if you get into a teleport pod, it disintegrates you and then reintegrates you. You could argue scientifically you're not the same person, even though you're identical.
And we know by her powers she's controlling atoms, so she's essentially disassembling the atoms, reassembling them as the same clothes.
And so the clothes aren't the exact same in that sense. Like, not to get philosophical in the entire fucking thing, but then when they're on the floor, they turn to goo. It's like they can't hold their shape.
Well, yeah,
which
like
means her powers aren't quite working right.
Yeah.
And I'm curious what that means.
I think it's either, her powers have got really messed up, or it could be linked with she's going past a mental block, but doesn't realize it. So then maybe she's subconsciously altering what they are. And that's still an issue.
Gonna be, that's scary as well.
Yeah, I think at some point she's going to accidentally change somebody and then be like, wait, what? Or do something that she realizes she doesn't have proper control anymore. And she's going to have to relearn how to do that.
Mage style. But it's just, this show the season 3 has been phenomenal. I'm so impressed with what they've pulled off, and seeing the entire arc of the season has boiled down to kind of like, can you be a hero and kill people?
Yeah.
And ironically, Mark was on the right side for the entire season. But this kind of really shit week has tipped him over the edge. And now we know at the end of the season, he's just said to Oliver, he's like, I'm sorry, Oliver, you were right. Sometimes you do have to kill people. Yeah. And I wonder what that means going into the next season. Are we going to see like a mini tyrant Mark?
So
the worst tyrants are the ones who don't think they're a tyrant.
So there's two parts that I think are going to happen. Obviously, you're going to get Mark. I think now Mark is not going to hold back the same, which I actually think he kind of needs to do, because like throughout this season, yes, he was 138% stronger. He was still getting his ass kicked. And it was only at the end of the season when he stopped caring that he was able to defeat potentially so far the strongest Viltrumite he's come against.
Yeah.
But it was like borderline win, let's be honest. I think he's gonna he's gonna hold back less, and next season maybe he's not losing fights as much, and just like wiping them, which
I
then
feel like if Powerplex gets out again, Mark might just kill him.
yeah. The other side of this is he's now told Oliver it's okay. I think because we were convinced going into this season Oliver was probably going to die or do something serious, and he didn't. He almost did at the beginning, but like he actually did quite well for the rest of the season. I think unfortunately now there's a potential he goes into next season. He doesn't hold back, and at first it's fine because it is a villain, and Mark's like, yeah, like I've said, this is okay. But where
where
Mark
do you draw that
will
line?
still have a moral level, whether he, even if he's letting loose a bit more, he's still going to have a thing of like, I'm not going to just kill an innocent person. Oliver won't have that same level because he is too young. Like he just doesn't know.
Yeah.
And I think Oliver will eventually go over that line, and Mark will suddenly go, "Oh shit, I've taken him the wrong way now."
Mm-hmm.
Some sort of realization.
I'm very, very curious to see how this story develops, how Mark changes. It's starting to feel, you know how kind of at the end of Doom Part 2, anyone who has any media literacy skills kind of goes, fuck, has Paul just become the bad guy?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the feeling I got at the end of this episode. When Mark said, I'm sorry, Oliver, you were right. In my head, I'm like, oh, fuck, is Mark not the hero? At least for a little while. Is Mark going to become like a little bit naughty for a while and we're kind of be rooting against him a little bit? And then he manages to redeem himself? I don't know.
I think it's more Mark is at this point where he's gonna be on a tightrope now where every episode I think next season we're gonna be like, did he go too far there? And each time it's going to be pushing us to question that a little, and we're probably going to be at first like, well, no, that guy was like, and he had to do it to win the fight, and then it's gonna get to a point where we're like, I think Mark might have gone too far there, and like that's what's going to happen. So it's not so much he's gone evil; he is testing the moral line of everyone now.
The interesting question with superheroes is always who gives them the right to make these decisions, right? And what that boils down to is a lot of heroes have like a no-kill rule. They're like, yes, I know I'm operating outside the law, so I'm going to protect people and stop criminals, and then I'll hand them over to the police and let the police take the due process from there. I'm just interrupting earlier where the police can't protect lives. There is a genuine philosophical argument to be had about, okay, what about people who are too dangerous? But
conquest.
Yeah, the beauty of that question always is a lot of the world, or not even a lot of the world, a decent portion of the world doesn't have capital punishment. It doesn't kill people. Like over in the UK, capital punishment does still technically exist for treason.
Treason to the royal family.
Yeah, but it's not been used in fuck knows how long. It's not been used in France, Germany, Spain. I don't believe have it anymore. Like over half of the states in America, I don't believe have the death penalty anymore. Which instantly throws this in like the entire concept of is it okay to kill a criminal into like moral ambiguity, right? Because in parts of the world that are literally maybe a couple of miles apart, someone commits a murder, they're going to be put on death row. Someone commits a murder, they're going to be in prison for life. That's already complex enough, right?
Yeah.
It becomes more complex for serial killers. But then when you add serial killers who are superpowered as well, that adds a whole other level of complexity to it. And does that then fall into the world of, is it up to the superpowered good people, bearing in mind that good is subjective, to handle the superpowered bad people? At which point does it just become like a gun control argument? All it takes to stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. That's literally like the NRA's whole thing. And people like me and you are like, well, no one should have guns. Okay, so do we believe that people with power shouldn't be allowed to use them? And it gets very complex very quickly. And I'm not saying I have an answer, but that's where a lot of like the really good and difficult storytelling that makes you have to actually think about it comes in. And I don't know where I stand on this because I agree with part of what Cecil's saying. Cecil is head of a government agency whose job is to keep the planet safe.
Yep.
Not dissimilar to like the CIA, MI5 type beat. There are without a doubt things the CIA and MI5 do that we would find abhorrent and unacceptable if we knew about. That is, for a large part, the reason we don't know they do them.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it's in
If you don't know, you can't be mad.
I think it's A Few Good Men with Tom Cruise and Jack Nicholson. It's like, you can't handle the truth. It's like, the truth is you don't want to know what I do because if you know, you wouldn't like it. Like that entire idea of what is the cost of freedom and safety.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what Invincible is tackling really aggressively this series.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, okay, at what point are you no longer comfortable? And that's like what we discussed that most weeks. It's like, oh, Oliver's gone a bit far there. But in reality, we know, like, forgetting how much we enjoy the Mauler twins being around as characters, we know the Mauler twins have killed hundreds of people just in these 3 seasons, and they've been supervillains for a while before that. Should they be allowed to just live in a prison when we know they break out? Do you have like a 3-strike rule, but for breaking out of prison?
Yeah, it's tough. And then because then the level above all this is like a conquest shows up, and it's like, if they are not stopped, Earth is just that everyone on this planet is killed. So at that point, it's like,
it asks you where your line is, essentially.
Yeah. And it's like, well, planet versus alien, I think the planet collectively would be like, yes, please kill him and stop him.
Realistically, what it would all come down to like solve this in-universe problem, which I'm glad they don't, because then you don't have as interesting storytelling, is all the governments go, capital punishment is now available for criminals who are dangerous, imminent threat to life, and are so powerful that we can't be confident incarceration keeps the public safe.
Yeah.
Because that's why incarceration of serial killers currently works, right? If a serial killer gets caught in the UK and they get thrown in solitary or in prison for 50 years, they don't break out.
Yeah,
so we can kind of go, right, well, they can't hurt anyone now, so we don't need to kill them.
Yeah, and this
but
likewise.
Dictators and stuff, we're like, well, no, we should kill them because they can hurt people and we can't just lock them away easily.
Well, and Cecil's sort of attempting this now, isn't he? Like he was like, oh, we're however many feet underground, this is however many tons of titanium is locked in. Like, this is us incarcerating him. If that doesn't work though, and that's the best,
enough to stop him?
And that's the best you've built, then okay, there's no locking him up. Like, how do you deal with him? Yeah. And we have to presume, like, yes, Conquest claimed to be the evilest, and like, he might not actually be the strongest or worst. So there's probably going to be worse coming. We know,
exactly.
And this is also in the news, but we know Frog, however you say it, is next season's big bad Viltrumite, apparently, and has been cast. Voice actor's been cast. Comic fans seem very hype in this character showing up, which then I'm like, oh, this is going to get more interesting, I fear, next season.
Yeah. But I genuinely think, obviously, the finale is like, for a little while, it was only the second ever show to be rated 10 out of 10 on IMDb, alongside Ozymandias from Breaking Bad. It's now dropped to a 9.9. Still makes it one of like the top 10 episodes in TV history on IMDb. Incredible episode. I doubt you're watching this right now if you don't watch Invincible. But if you are, go watch Invincible. It is one of the better shows on TV right now. It just is.
Yeah.
But yeah, incredible finale. I don't think we can realistically ask for anything more.
No, and I mean, we already said at the beginning of the season, but like the format was so much better this season.
No more mid-season breaks, baby.
It worked so much better, and I'm so glad they listened to the fans there.
Yeah,